Hello guys, welcome to Lartman Farms. Today's video is going to be a quick update of what has been happening in our backyard. Remember I said earlier that this tank that is on my right hand side, we had about 700 liters of water with some tilapia in this tank. And as of today, we have an excess of almost about 400 liters. And this happened overnight. I was just walking by and then I saw that I had water being spilled all over the ground. And why is this happening? It's happening because of two things. First of all, this tank doesn't have an overflow tank. And because there isn't any overflow tank, when the water gets full, it will just flow out. And luckily for me, I had tilapia in this tank instead of catfish. If I had catfish in this tank, there is a higher chance that I would have come to meet a lot of my fish pouring on the ground or jumping out of the tank. And this is what happened. So I have decided to maintain the same flow rates overnight in this particular tank. And so I had the water just dropping in like this. Come and take a look at it. So I had the water dropping in like this. And then, as they've always said, little drops of water will make a mighty ocean. Then I just saw this happening. Therefore, as a fish farmer, it is very essential that you always make sure your tanks do have an overflow installed. If you have an overflow installed, you may not face some of these challenges. And in installing your overflow, quickly taking a look at this particular tank. In this tank, you can see there is a hole over there. That hole used to serve as an overflow. But you see, the hole is big enough. So if I have these smaller fish in this tank and the water gets to that level, there's a chance that I could have some of my fish also probably coming out of that hole. But yes, this is generally what we are looking at trying to do with an overflow. Sometimes you can put a mesh at the overflow and some people use pipes and amongst other things. So now what I'm supposed to do is, the water is too much. I'll just reduce this water a little bit to, let's say, almost 900 liters. And it means I have enough water to take to my grow beds. So that takes me to the next thing I want to discuss. Every time I wake up in the morning, in this particular tank, which has been aerated, I tend to see foam on the surface of the pond. And when I see the foam, I have to ask a couple of questions. So if you come closer, and this foam, you tend to see it very early in the morning. Around 10 a.m., the foam would have reduced drastically, but very early in the morning is a lot more in the tank. So what can cause this foam in your tank, and is it harmful for your fish? The factors are quite a lot. One is because, I have an aerator, and there's a possibility that the aeration is too much. Yes, if you have too much aeration, you can have this. But then also, if you see a lot of foam and bubbles in your tank, it could also be an indication of stress in your tank, or your fish is stressed. Another thing that I could observe also would be that, again, there's a lot of organic matter in this tank. Changing of water hasn't been done the way it's supposed to be done. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to change about 50% of the water in this tank, and then I'll replenish by getting in some new fresh water into the tank. And every time I see the foam, I tend to see a few of my fish dead. And I can even see one fish dead now. Let me just get my scoop net. Okay, so yes, there's a lot of foam. Let me just take out the dead fish. Anytime you see a dead fish in your tank, what you do is you have to take it out. It looks like this one died not too long ago, because this eye is still there, but then it's this one that has been eaten by the colleagues. So anytime, normally you tend to see the mortalities very early in the morning with tilapia. So I just throw this away from, and there's another one also in the tank. And because of the level of mortalities I'm seeing just two, I want to probably go a little bit deeper into the tank to see if there is a lot more happening at the bottom. Okay, they seem to be okay. But yes, if you take a look at my nets, there's a lot of poo as well. All of these things are fish poo. So I'll just change the water and then I'll use that water in my grow bed area. Also, I've tilted the tank a little bit, so if there will be a lot of waste or there will be anything, I have to also try and scoop towards the outlet. Sometimes you'll be able to find, yeah, it looks like the fish, they are okay. So I would not even stress them a lot more because the bubbles is giving me a lot of indication. And so I'll just have to change the water in this tank, reduce that. I'm going to reduce by 50%. So 50%, if I currently have about 700 grams, sorry, if I currently have about 700 liters of water, I'm going to change all the way to about 350. And then after that, I would replenish. And I'll give you an update as to whether it solves the problem or not. The catfish, they are doing quite well. Ever since I brought them here, I've not changed the water. And yeah, initially in a previous episode, the water was somewhere here. And again, I'm allowing the water to just drop in the tank gradually. And so, yeah. And now we are moving to the third bit. We promised you in the previous video that we're going to show you how we calculate the feed for our fish in various tanks. Again, let me just take this one out. So you see, if your tank gets too full, sometimes working in the tank becomes a little bit difficult. All right. So yes, this is another mortality, like maybe just one. So I'll just have to reduce the water in this tank just a little bit. Yeah, and the only thing I realized over here is the fish seem to be more happy that there's a lot more water in the tank because this is not aerated, obviously. So I was thinking, again, if this one isn't aerated and I don't have bubbles in the morning on top of the tank, then and this one has a lot of bubbles, probably again, there could be that I'm doing excess aeration and there's too much air in the tank. I don't think that is going to cause any problem with my fish. So now let's move on to how we feed our fish and the quantity. Before I go into how we feed our fish and the calculations, I just want to do a quick water test for the various ponds. I mean, the two tilapia ponds to still try and see if I can find what the problem is. So I'm going to get some water from this tank to the 5 milliliter meniscus. Let's go. Perfect. And there are a lot of particles in the water. And let me check this one too as well. Good. So this is from this tank, and then this is from this tank, the other tank. So let me. Okay. So let me put tank B on my left and tank A on my right. So the first thing I'm going to look out for is to check for ammonia. And ammonia is generally waste from fish, and then also any organic matter in the pond that's, let's say, decay. So if I put feed in the pond as well, and the fish does not eat the feed, it becomes ammonia. When they excrete ammonia, And so I have with me a test kit, quick one, to just check for the level of ammonia in the, so this is for tank A. It says add 8 drops, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this one checks low range ammonia. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, so let's start with tank A first. Let's check where we have our ammonia. Over here, our ammonia is 0.25 ppm, and then let me check with this one too as well. It looks like this one is a bit 0.5 ppm. So from using just this quick test kit, I'm seeing ammonia being a bit higher in the second pond. So the tank without bubbles, where we tested the nitrite, yeah, the nitrite looks to be like a little bit like very, very low. That's very other pond, lower. Ten of this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then 5 of this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So these kind of test kits are just like quick fix test kits. There are a lot more advanced ones which are also digital, which when you use them as well, you would also be able to get more accurate figure. Yes, but then upon comparing the two, it looks like they are all, the nitrite levels are also low. This is like 0, this one too is also like almost 0 ppm. So it means that probably the issue is not just around ammonia and nitrite and the rest. The issue could be that there's a lot more oxygen, there's too much oxygen in the tank, and so I may just decide to just reduce, not 50%, but just maybe about like the regular 10%, or maybe like just 20%, and then also reduce the force that the aerator is introducing into the tank in terms of oxygenation. So yes, that's quickly how you can test. You can test with something like this. We have also some strips. We have some strips that you could use to also test for your water quality parameters. And most importantly, let's come to the feeding. So to feed our fish, we have, as I said in the previous episode, we used the 2 mm size for our catfish, and then we are using the 1.2 to 1.6 mm size of feed for our tilapia. And the reason is because the catfish is about 7 grams plus, and then we have our tilapia currently averaging about like 2 grams. So now, for you to be able to calculate the quantity of feed to give your fish, first of all, you need to find out what is the average weight of a fish in your tank. So if you have, let's say, in this tank we have 194. You pick about like 10 pieces of fish at random, and then you get the average weight. The average weight is the predominant weight in the pond. Then when you get that, so let's say in this pond we have 7 grams, and then the next thing you do is because they are very small fish, you are going to do a calculation of 5% of the body weight of the fish. Now there are about different calculations. In our training, we would explain a lot more into these calculations. But then quick one will be 5% of the body weight of the fish. So that would be 0.05. So 7 grams of the fish times 0.05. That will give you the quantity of feed you're supposed to feed your fish per day. And then from there, then you multiply by the total quantity of fish in the pond. So the total quantity of fish in the pond is 195. Therefore, we are supposed to feed our fish 67.9 grams of feed. So we have, again, our famous scale, which has been doing a lot of things for us in this series. Good. It's already been set on 0 grams. So when you pick your catfish feed, now we need about 60, let's just round it up to about 68 grams. So we put this on the scale, and then it says it's 41 grams, right? Yes, it's 40 grams or 41 grams. So 41 grams, we keep on adding until we get to our 68. Good. All right, so it's 67. Let's add a few, and let's just shake it and put it back on. It still says 67. Good. So we have our 68 grams. So this 68 grams is the quantity of feed we need to feed our fish. That's our catfish of 195 pieces of 7 grams. This is the quantity you are supposed to feed them in the entire day. Okay, this is not for just morning feeding. This is for the entire day. So the next thing we are supposed to do is we have to just divide this by 2. Okay, and to divide this by 2, what I'm going to do is so dividing 68 by 2, we are going to have 34. So I'm going to pour some here and see if we can get our 34. It's still above. Or let me just pour it and then make sure it's a little bit more. Good, so we have 34, perfect. So this is the quantity of feed we need to feed our catfish for this morning. We are doing twice in a day. And so yeah, feed for catfish has been sorted out. Then we have 2 different tanks with tilapia. For purpose of this calculation, we are using about 400 pieces of 2 grams of tilapia in this tank. And then also we are doing about 500 pieces of tilapia in this tank. The figure has reduced because of a couple of mortalities here and there. And so to do that, again, the same calculations. So you look at 2 grams, which is the average weight of the fish. Then you come and multiply by 5% of the body weight of the fish. So 5% is 0.05. So 2 grams times 0.05. Then you multiply it by the 400 pieces of fish that we have over here, and it's going to give you, I think, 40 grams. So that is 40 grams. Let's try and see if we can get our 40 grams. But then again, 40 grams is the total for the day, as I showed you earlier on. So now we need just 20 grams, and that is going to go in for the fish for the morning. So we need 40 grams of feed for this tank. So this scale is just the regular cooking scale that we use in our homes. But then if you are doing a larger capacity, you would probably have to go in for, yeah, so this is, it says 41, okay, so it says 40 grams. So this is the quantity we are supposed to feed the fish in this tank, 40 grams. And then in this one, we are doing 500, so 50 grams. So feeding of fish, again, as we always do. Now, let's see the challenge we may face in a tank where we have the water being 2 above. So you feed, you wait. And for this tank, the water hasn't been changed for a while. We just added some new water to the tank. Let's see if they will feed the quantity they are supposed to feed in a day, in the morning. So feeding of fish is not done in a rush. You take your time, and you can see some of the feed is getting stuck over here. And that's because, again, it's too full, and the feed is floating. So you will just look out for a place where it could just be there. So you keep on feeding them gradually. Feeding of fish is not done in a rush. You always have to take your time and then allow the fish some time to feed and feed well. If your fish is very healthy and water quality is top notch, generally you tend to find them being able to feed on the quantity you've given them every single time. They'll feed on it totally. And so if you are feeding fish and you see that there is still some of the feed floating on the top surface of the pond, sometimes I'll tell you, don't feed, just hold on. Let them clear what's on top. I'm also feeling that these guys are, yes, they are trying to eat, but then they are not trying to eat as much, also because I'm very, very close to them, and maybe they are a bit either scared or shy, right? So while we wait for them to clear this, let's go to our second tank, which is 50 grams. And this is the tank where we have the aerator in there. Now, in this tank, yes, we do have a lot of oxygen. We believe the water quality is not too bad. So let's see if when we feed them, and you see the activity in this tank is a lot wilder than that of the other pond. You see the fish being a lot more active because, yes, they have enough oxygen. And again, I said the fish, they are acting like this because right from the hatchery, they were used to aerators being present in their ponds. So that's why I decided to make sure there's always aeration for them. And within a short while, these guys are done eating what they are supposed to feed on. So yeah, you continue, you hold on, you calm down. The feed is a floating feed, so you always come to the top. Your fish is supposed to clear it out. And sometimes, if you don't want a lot of activity on the surface of your pond, what you can do is you can put out the aerator so that the fish is not distracted by your aerators. And now inside the pond is a bit calm. And then when you put in the feed, the fish can now, oh, okay, yeah, now, exactly, and move on there. So that's generally how you feed. You see, I'm taking quite some time to feed the fish. I am not pouring everything in the pond at a go. I am just taking my time because, again, if they don't feed on this and it goes to the bottom of the pond, it's going to deteriorate the water quality. It will spike up ammonia. Ammonia is very toxic to fish, and it becomes a breeding ground for a lot of bacteria, disease, and viruses. So you have to just make sure you know the quantity you are feeding. So you see, these guys have eaten quite a lot, and these guys, I think maybe they are waiting for me. Let me just drop one. And while we are waiting for them to finish, let's go to our most exciting guys, that is the catfish. Now for catfish, they eat in a rush, And just by my presence, they know I'm coming to feed them, so they're already running on the surface of the pond. Prior to this, they were just moving calmly in the bottom. So again, when you're coming to feed, for catfish, normally when a fish dies at this stage, it goes to the bottom of the tank. So for the catfish, I'm going to do almost 100% water change every 3 days. And so I'll be able to see what's happening at the bottom of the tank. Because of their cannibalism, you want to always pay attention to them, feed them on time. Don't stress your fish by not feeding them on time. They wouldn't know whether feed is coming today or not, and they'll become stressed. The main cause of fish kill is stress. Anything that causes stress in your tank can worry your fish. And so yeah, and that's it. I'm done feeding these guys. This is what they're supposed to eat for the day, and we are through. We'll go and come back and see whether they clear everything. So feeding is not done, pouring everything. You just do gradually, and then you are okay. Let me see if this guy still wants a bit more. So yes, during when we have our training sessions, we explain a lot more as to stocking density, how many fish is supposed to be in a tank. We are going to explain biosecurity, how you prevent a lot of the diseases, how you prevent a lot of issues in your tank, and then how can you solve them. Also, we are also going to discuss aquaculture finance. We are going to discuss a lot of things in our training. So if you want to join the training, which is happening on the 1st of May and then the 4th of May, again, in the description section, there will be a registration link. You can just join, reach out to us, tell us you want to join the training, and you can join both online and then in person. So I'll just leave you guys whilst I'll catch you in the next episode. See you and bye.